Any of my club gigs I never got from networking. Thing is, there's so many people trying to do what you're doing. There's no other XEliots. Getting a handle on social media, not the first thing that they're thinking about, but it should be. And it doesn't matter really if you're not booking many gigs. I'm gonna spend some time and just grind because there's a formula and it works. I opened for James Hype. Like the number one thing that really helped.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Talking Point podcast. Today, we're back with another one. Today, we've got DJ XEliot, okay? This is a big one. He's another DJ from the States, all right? We do speak about this. He opened for James Hype last year in one of the Boston clubs, so that was a big moment for him. He said it was his highlight of not just 2023, but his career so far. We talk about how he got into DJing, how he's elevated his DJ career through social media and how you can do the same as well. So I hope you really enjoyed this podcast. You can find him on social media at XEliot Music. I'm at Daymellows and at Talking Point Pod. Enjoy this episode of Talking Point with XEliot. Elliot, or DJ XEliot. That's what I wanted to start on, actually. Where did the X in XEliot come from?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny story. My mom came up with the name, and we were just like on this long car drive home one night in California, which is where I'm from. And this was at the beginning of when I was like a few years ago when I was like, oh, I want to be DJ producer, do dance music. And so then, of course I was like, okay, what's my name going to be? And so I was just sitting there thinking about it and I couldn't come up with anything, good or unique. And so then I just asked my mom, I was like, what should my producer name be? And she just like immediately was like XEliot. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, we'll do that. And then that's what it's been.
Skyrockets from there, yeah. Just a simple, quick question to the mom, and yeah, she knows best.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, man, she came up with that like immediately, no hesitation. She just said it. I was like, all right.
Do you think it's important to have like a cool and catchy DJ name, or do you reckon people can just go as like DJ, or like how it could just be DJ Elliot, or do you think it really impacts like your brand having that X in front of it?
Um, yeah, I do. And I think especially now, if your DJ name is DJ whatever, it's not cool anymore for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
So I feel like coming up with a moniker that's just, either it could be just your real name or something else. Some people have names that are cool for it, like Chris Lake. Like that's a perfect,
Yeah, pretty cool name.
it's very simple and not many syllables or anything. Uh but yeah, I think the most important thing though is just for it to be unique because the thing is there's so many people trying to do what you're doing. So
Hmm.
finding a name that other people aren't using is so difficult. You know what I mean? So it has to be, and that's where something unique to you, your name or somewhere that you grew up or whatever it might be. There's no other X Elliots, especially not spelled the way that I spell Elliot. So
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if you just went around calling yourself DJ Bob or like DJ James, then there's gonna be so many of you, and it's gonna be so hard to stand out.
yeah, exactly.
If you had one piece of advice, Elliot, for any beginner DJs, whether that be get yourself a standout name, like throw an X in front of your name, or whatever it would be, what would your one piece of advice to beginner DJs be?
Man, especially nowadays, the number one thing, getting a handle on social media.
Hmm.
So it's just so important. Surprisingly, it's still something that's somehow underrated in some ways when you talk, especially not when you talk to DJs who've been in the game for a little bit, but for people who are just starting out, for some reason, I find oftentimes when people ask me, it's not the first thing that they're thinking about, but it should be. And how you present yourself is so important. most promoters now, they look at your Instagrams, your socials, to get a good sense of, who you are, if you've ever DJ'd in front of anyone. And it doesn't matter really if you're not booking many gigs, because no one's booking gigs when they start out, right? But if you can just establish a presence where it's like showing you doing your craft and also doing it, it could just be doing it in front of your friends. But if people see you doing it and other people having a good time in that relationship, but beyond that, just like videos of you DJing, videos of you producing, all this stuff, it's just the number one thing now.
Especially on things like TikTok and YouTube Shorts and things like that. The way things can just pick up and blow up and get the ball rolling, it's so important just to get little bits of pieces of content out there.
Yeah, man. I mean, I didn't get any of my club gigs. I never got from networking. I got it all just from people finding me on social media because I just kept like putting myself out there. Uh,
Really?
yeah, in the my first gig at like this college bar that I DJ at a lot, was through a friend. Luckily, I knew someone who was already kind of like in it, and that was super helpful. But all the gigs after that, it was just because I started bringing my tripod, you know what I mean? And just, doing these filming short videos of transitions and stuff. And then those started to like gain a little bit of traction. And then that's how, promoters and other DJs around, the scene in Boston, um, started to, notice me.
At the start of your DJ journey then, looking back now, would you have focused on getting as much content out there or focusing on refining your DJ skills and getting the best type of content out there?
You
So like
know,
basically quality or quantity is what I'm asking.
yeah, no, that's a good question because it's funny. I think you could attempt it from both angles in a way because you could have the mindset like, I'm going to spend some time and just grind and, really refine my DJing skills or my production skills. And then when I feel like I've arrived in some capacity, then I'll start, putting myself out there. But then at the same time, dude, I see videos, so many videos on TikTok, especially of people who are beginner DJs putting
Yeah,
themselves out
yeah.
there and they blow up because at the end of the day, people don't really they care about how good you are, but at the same time, if it's translating and affecting them and they're thinking, oh, that's cool, it doesn't really matter what the skill level is. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think there's one girl in particular that I've seen on TikTok where she just does the worst transitions possible, but I'm pretty sure she does it intentionally, and
yeah,
they
no, I
they
think I
just
know what you
blow
mean.
up. Yeah, yeah,
She's actually really good, but I saw those videos of her, it's like intentionally bad, and then I
yeah,
saw a live stream of her one time and she was like doing great. So but
yeah.
yeah, even exactly.
I think that's how it must come across. Like the average watcher of those videos, it's sort of like, oh, this person's so bad. But if you sort of know a little bit about it, you'll probably know to come across to everyone that bad, you've actually got to have some sort of skill.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, I've seen videos also blow up where it's like people are just posting the process of them learning how to DJ. And
Mhm.
they're not like trying to be worse or anything. It's actually them like as they're developing and people love those videos.
I think it's just because they're so honest, and it's the honest journey. So if you're going to
Yeah.
pick up the decks for the first time and give it a go, this is what you're going to go through. You're not going to pick them up the first time and be amazing. Do
Yeah, 100%.
you remember the first time you did a mix? Do you remember how it went?
Like recorded a mix, or do you mean just like did
Just
anything?
first time you tried it out, and did you pick it up quite quick, or was it like, oh my gosh, well, I don't know what I'm doing here?
So I go to music school. I'm about to finish. I'm in my last semester, but I already had the
Congratulations.
back. Thank you, man. I already had that background of being a musician. I played guitar and stuff, so that I think definitely sped up the process of
Hmm.
me learning. But nah, man. At first, I remember. I think it was like do you know who Ray Shrimmerd is? The- It's like a
I'm
rap group. They're famous in America, kind
right.
of.
Okay.
So, But it was just one of the songs that I had downloaded, and I remember, I don't know if it was my first transition, but like my first memory of sort of like doing it, it was with these like two rap songs, and I was kind of like messing around with looping as well, like going into the next song. But then I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
How did the first mix go once you did the looping and everything?
Oh yeah, and looking back on it, I actually have a video of it. I'm pretty sure, it's not super great. It's
Mm,
funny in your head, you think it's smooth, and then when you listen back, you're like, ah.
yeah.
Um, oh, but where I was going with that is just like the number one thing that really helped the mixing was when I started to really get a handle of like um song structure
hmm
and like where different points are good to sort of transition in and out of. And that really helped me
So
take off.
if there's a beginner DJ listening to this podcast and they want to know more about what you've just said, their song structure, could you just explain that really quickly about where the best points in a song usually are to mix into the next one?
Yeah, 100%. Every song's unique, but for the most part, every modern pop dance song is going to have like these sections are split up between like 8 and 16 bars. So you might have like an 8-bar buildup and then a 16-bar sort of drop or chorus. And then maybe after the 16-bar drop or chorus, you'll have 8 bars where it's kind of like a breakdown, or 16 bars. Um, Breakdowns are great points. But I think learning that there are these sort of different sections where there's going to be a lot of energy and where there's not going to be a lot of energy, and sort of that's how I used to guide me. And honestly, when you learn, because the formula is really like similar for all of them, like every song is pretty much going to have like a 16 bar, 8 16-bar verse, 8 16-bar, pre-chorus or like build, and then a 16 to 32 bar drop. Every song is like that. So once you get a handle of that, it's pretty predictable,
hmm
section by section, what's going to happen. Um, because there's a formula and it works. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It becomes, I mean, that's how you can sort of mix into songs that you've never had any practice with. You know what I mean? If you're going back to back or whatever. Um, yeah, it's just so important.
So in when you're doing that and you're sort of mixing freestyling, really, would you prefer a good audience reaction from something that you freestyled on the spot, or something that you've prepped in advance and you've worked hard on the mix?
That's a good question. Cause sometimes when you just like do something and surprise yourself and then people like it too, you're like, oh. But I think honestly, the ones where you've kind of prepared for it,
hmm
a lot of, especially the TikTok videos of mine that I've done somewhat well, there's preparation. I planned that in advance. I was like, oh, I need a, it used to be every week I'd sit down and be like, all right, let's find like 5 songs and make cool transitions out of them into another song. And let's sort of prepare like 5 different that I can film, you know what I mean, when I'm there. Um, but yeah, you know,
So how long have you actually been DJing for?
since 20 live, since my very first gig was opening for my friend at a college bar, and it was on my I turned 21 that night.
Oh wow, okay,
Um,
yeah.
so that which was 2022, but I'd been practicing for okay, so like fall of 2021
hmm
is when I had started practicing and stuff, and then first gig was in February of 2022.
Oh wow, that's quite a quick turnaround then, really, from not touching decks before to getting your first gigs.
Yeah, and like I said, like being a musician beforehand really helped. Especially like I said, with the song structure
Yeah.
stuff, that was, and then you just have to learn, okay, I have to not have my low end in as I'm bringing the song. A lot of the sort of frequency based stuff that you learn as a DJ, that's kind of what I had to learn the most, how to
Yeah.
manipulate the knobs so then I'd make a smooth transition. And
Yeah, all that sort of stuff, I guess, comes with practice, and I don't think there's really a better place to practice than live in a gig in front of an audience. Obviously, you
yeah,
need a lot of prep before you go up there, but you're really gonna learn how to DJ while you're DJing.
yeah, man. And I remember, oh my God, like the first few, my hands would be so sweaty
Yeah.
when I was mixing. I was just so nervous. Um, And that's why if you can find a gig that's consistent, that's the most important thing. Because I mean, now I get nervous beforehand doing stuff, but I don't, not in the same way that I did in the beginning while I'm DJing. I'm not
Mhm.
nervous ever while I'm DJing anymore. It's just if it's a bigger gig, um, I get nervous beforehand, but not during anymore. But in the beginning, during, man, like my hands would be sweating and it would be just like, every little movement I did, I would just be agonizing over it.
How did you begin to overcome that stress then as you're up there, that and maybe even a little bit of pressure as you're up there?
Just getting used to being in that spot, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Doing it every week, over and over again.
Just e
Um,
exposure therapy, really.
exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Just being up there and getting used to that environment. So now you've been doing it for a few years then. Is there a standout moment that you would say is a career highlight so far? Maybe it's a certain gig that you've done, someone that you've worked with, or an audience reaction or anything like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was in May on Cinco de Mayo. Uh, I opened for James Hype, and that was,
Yeah.
he's been a pretty big inspiration of mine. Um, so that was huge for me. Of course, I ended up not getting to meet him or anything because it's funny. As soon as he finished his set, he ran off stage and then was just not to be seen again.
Just disappeared.
Yeah, he just was out of there so fast. But yeah, that was really cool for me. And the best sort of crowd um, that I had had. And yeah, it was a really cool moment.
How did that gig come about then? How did you end up opening for James Hype?
So um it was at this club in Boston called Royale, which is
Hmm.
it's like one of two of the bigger clubs in Boston that bring in, a lot of the big name DJs.
Hmm.
Um, and so a little less than a year before that, um, in the summer, like I said earlier, I was doing my sort of weekly college bar gigs, filming it, putting on TikTok. One of the guys who works at this club, Royale, as artist relations, he's also a DJ
Right.
and he saw one of my videos. And so this was in July of 2022. I'm getting mixed up because we're in 2024. Yeah, it was
Yeah, we've just made the jump
July of 2024. July of 2022.
to yeah.
He saw my video and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna do like a locals sort of night, you know, a Friday night in August. Do you want to open for like us?" It was him and then another DJ who also actually worked at that club. And I was like, heck yeah. And so I did that, did well. They liked me. And because he does like artist relations, he manages a lot of the booking and stuff. So then we stayed in contact and then he started putting me on, you know, just as support at that
Hmm.
club for certain nights. And so then, but for the James Hype one, I opened for Side Piece, uh, like a month or two before that. So yeah, I developed that relationship and then kept going back. And then eventually, when it came around to it, they needed someone. And so then,
He was there for the call.
yeah, exactly.
So when you're doing those gigs where you're opening for the main act DJs, how do you find that balance? How do you strike that balance between showing off your best skills and your best abilities, mixing different songs, but also not taking the thunder away from the main DJ who's about to follow.
Yeah, no, I mean, being an opener is the hardest thing to do in DJing. I mean, because your song selection, it has to be that's where song selection is. You just have to do a really good job because you have to pick songs that are gonna get people, energized, right? You don't want people to be bored and kind of
Mm,
waiting for the headliner to come on. You want them to enjoy it while it's happening, but you can't play all the bangers and you have to, you know what I mean? So I think mixing wise, I think you can be as flashy as you want. I just think you can't pick songs that are going to be, you know, taking away, and definitely don't play the headliner songs, because some people do that.
mhm.
They and they don't realize it's just a big no-no. Don't play the headliner song if they have, if they're a big producer and they have some hits out. Don't play their song before they come on. You can play their song any other night, just not the
Yep,
night that
yep.
you're opening for them. So yeah, just picking, you have to pick the more underground songs and stuff.
Yeah, so would you say then that you target more lesser known songs, but still with the same beat, or more popular songs that have kind of gone out of fashion a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. And actually this guy that I mentioned, his name is James, who did artist relations at that club. He kind of taught me a good little method when you're opening, which is kind of like three songs that they haven't heard of, and then one song that they have heard of.
Right.
And so then instead of, because otherwise, when you're headlining, you want every song to be something that is going to get in. But then when you're opening, three songs not heard of, one song that they have, and then the song that maybe they have heard of, pick something that's, you know, instantly recognizable, but not something that's current,
Mhm.
going. But then you also have to be careful because when you go back, there's songs that people play all the time that are, you know, like a remix of a Rihanna song, right? So like that was a hit in whatever 2014, but all these DJs still play it. So you have to be careful not to pick the like, you know, the
Yeah.
titaniums or whatever. But something that is recognizable and that people can sing along to. And that's so important too, is just people love being able to sing along to stuff. And there's no harm in that. You know what I mean? I think there's some underground stuff in the underground scene, and it's like, which I don't like as much, which are songs that don't have any sort of, catchy vocal, or
Mhm.
it's so important. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to think about going in as an opener DJ. It's not as easy as people might think that you just go in and you can play whatever you want. The DJ later on can repeat songs because you can't really, because if you're on the dance floor and you've heard a song, you've heard your favorite song and you've loved it, you've danced to it, you're like, okay, yeah, amazing. That comes on again half an hour later, you're gonna notice it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Being an
So
opener is hard, man.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Going forward in 2024, do you have one main goal that you'd like to hit? Maybe a certain gig, or I don't know, as many views on a video of you DJing. Is there one specific goal that you're trying to hit?
Yeah, I think for 2024, my main goals are really related to my own music. Um, I haven't hit I haven't gotten anything with over 100,000 streams yet. So starting to get that, push that over this year. So yeah, pretty much all my goals are related to streams and just getting my own music to blow up. Um, but it's funny because I had a similar goal in the beginning of January last year. Um, and also one of those goals was to, open for a headliner, because
Mhm.
all the other opening opportunities I had done at clubs were just for resident DJs, like local DJs. And I wanted to open
Right.
for someone, like a James Hype.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of January, getting a song over January of 2023, getting a song over 10,000 streams was like crazy to me. Like that just seemed, because at that point I had not even close to that. and fast forward to now, it's, way beyond that. I have a lot of, remixes and stuff on SoundCloud. And relatively speaking, this isn't that much, right? But just for me,
Hmm.
I've quite a few that are getting close to 50,000 or above 50,000. And if you would have told me that a year ago in January, I would have been like, there's no way. I mean,
Yeah.
my goal literally that I wrote down in my notes of my phone was get over 10,000 streams on a song because that seemed like, and I was like, man, I'm not sure if I'm going to get that by this year, you know? And so just to anyone setting goals where you're really pushing yourself, um, I'm not a New Year's resolution dude, but you know, we work by years, right? So setting a goal that kind of really pushes you, that you think is maybe not super attainable is really good because you'd be surprised like 6 months from now how close or maybe you've already even gone to that point just because you put in the work and you
Yeah.
set that expectation.
Well, you said it there, putting in the work and obviously getting all these streams that you're getting now. It's a testament to the work that you're putting in. Um, but going alongside that, there's so much that's coming towards you that I'm sure you must be grateful for. And a lot of what we talk about on this podcast is a lot of DJing, but also things that you're grateful for. So I'm going to ask you now to list three things that you're grateful for today.
Yeah. Number one, just being able to express myself through
Hmm.
music every day, Uh it's not at the point yet where I'm able to completely support myself off it, right? But just being able to come in and express myself and I'm always trying to just have fun and when I'm making music, uh I don't, the day that it really feels like a job is the day that I'm not going to do it anymore because every day
Yeah.
I have fun. So I'm really glad I'm able to express myself in that way and just have fun every day. And I think that ties in to number two, which is just I'm grateful that I found something that I'm super passionate about and that I want. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Because a
Hmm.
lot of people struggle finding what their calling or you know what I mean is in life or whatever, especially kids, our age,
Hmm.
early 20s. I don't know how old you are, but
Yeah.
I
Early 20s. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So early 20s, so many kids, they have no clue what they want to do and what they're super passionate about. So I'm super grateful for that. And then number three, I guess just that, and it's not even that many people, but I'm grateful that there's people that I connect with, like because of my music,
Hmm.
the people hitting me up saying whatever, or asking questions or whatever that might be. Like, that's so cool. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I said,
Yeah.
even a year ago today, or just being able to have met people in different parts of the world or the United States, and it's because they've found me through my music. Like, even if it's 5 people and wherever, it's still so cool to me that you make that connection.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to know that what you're doing could be making a difference in countless people's lives. That even if they just come across a mix that you've done online and they really like it, or if they listen to some advice or ask you for some advice, that's then helped them on their journey. Which hopefully any beginner DJs listening to this podcast have done that today. And I'd encourage them to go and look at your videos and check out your SoundCloud and see what you've got going on your streams because everything that I've seen is really impressive.
Yeah. Although I will say, and this is the struggle, like every day, I don't feel impressive. I feel like, oh man, I should be doing so much more, like nothing, I've accomplished nothing. And so it's good for that gratitude to kind of
Yeah,
like remember and be grateful because otherwise you'll just always be stuck in wishes of, oh, I wish I could be here right now or doing this gig or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I think looking back at what you've done and being grateful is so important on a journey of growth and getting yourself to that next step. So yeah, I think we've touched base on a lot of important things there, Elliot. So thank you very much for coming on, and it's been really nice to speak to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me.